The dim hospital room is cast in long, eerie shadows, the sterile white walls reflecting only the cold glow of a heart monitor. The steady beeping is the only sound breaking the heavy silence, each tone punctuating the weight of uncertainty. And 4 drip feeds clear liquid into Kim Menzies' arm, the slow rhythm of its flow mirroring the subdued rise and fall of her chest beneath the hospital blanket. Her face, partially obscured by the oxygen mask fogging with every breath, looks impossibly fragile, a stark contrast to the indomitable woman she has always been. Jamal Menzies sits hunched over at her bedside, his fingers wrapped tightly around hers, as though his grasp alone could tether her to him, to life. His palms are damp, his body tense, the warmth of her skin the only reassurance he has that she is still here. Never before has he felt so powerless, so utterly consumed by helplessness. The word heart attack still rings in his mind, slicing through his thoughts like a blade. The call had shattered his reality, leaving him breathless, suffocated by an indescribable terror. Rushing to the hospital had been a blur, his pulse erratic, his mind unable to process the possibility that his mother might slip away from him forever. Now, in the stillness of this room, the enormity of it all bears down on him. His mother, his warrior, his protector, his guiding force, lies vulnerable, her life hanging in a delicate balance. He tries to push away the dark thoughts circling in his mind, the relentless what-ifs, but they gnaw at him, an ever-present threat poised to consume him whole. The door creaks open, and a nurse steps inside, moving with quiet efficiency as she checks Kim's vitals. She casts a brief, knowing glance at Jamal, offering a small, reassuring smile. "She's stable," the nurse murmurs. "Her vitals are improving." Jamal barely nods, his throat too constricted to form a proper response. Relief flickers through him, fragile and fleeting. The nurse finishes her check, then slips out, leaving him alone once more with his mother. He leans forward, pressing his forehead against their clasped hands, eyes squeezed shut. His voice is hoarse, nearly inaudible. "Please wake up, Mom. Please." Time drags on, the seconds stretching into eternity. His mind drifts back to their last conversation, before all of this, probably about one of her 90-day fiance adventures. She had been laughing, her eyes dancing with mischief, her voice light with amusement. It feels like a memory from another lifetime. Then, a shift. The slightest twitch. Jamal's head jerks up, eyes locked on her face. Another movement, her fingers curling weakly in his grasp. A small, quiet groan escapes her lips. His breath catches. Her eyelids flutter open, unfocused at first, her gaze wandering in search of familiarity. "Mom," Jamal whispers, his heart pounding. "Mom." And then, finally, her eyes find his. Until she finds him. Her exhausted eyes flutter open, a flicker of recognition surfacing in their depths. Then, a weak yet comforting grin forms on her lips. "Hey, baby," she murmurs, her voice barely more than a whisper, strained and fragile. Before Jamal can stop it, a choking sob bursts from his throat. His body collapses forward, forehead pressing against the back of her frail hand. Relief floods through him in overwhelming waves, shaking him to his core. "You scared the hell out of me," he breathes, his voice unsteady. "I thought I was losing you." Kim's fingers, though weak, stroke his hand gently, a quiet reassurance. "I'm still here." Jamal steps back slightly, studying her face with the eyes of a man who had just glimpsed the abyss and come back. She looks tired, worn down by the battle her body had fought. But she is here. Alive. Then, the door swings open, the quiet hush of the hospital room disrupted. A doctor enters, his expression calm, professional, holding a clipboard in his hands. He glances between Jamal and Kim before finally speaking. "Mr. Men, the good news is there's no permanent damage. You suffered a mild heart attack, but with proper treatment and rest, you'll make a full recovery." Jamal exhales sharply, his shoulders sagging as some of the tension uncoils within him. But not all of it. He still needs certainty. Needs to hear it again, with absolute clarity. "She's going to be okay, right?" His voice is firm, desperate. "This won't happen again?" The doctor nods. With the right lifestyle changes, reduced stress, monitored heart health, proper care, there's no reason to believe she won't recover fully. Jamal swallows hard, nodding slowly as he absorbs the words. His fingers tighten around Kim's hand, his touch gentle yet unyielding, as if holding on to her now could somehow anchor her to him forever. She's still here. And he's not letting go. Jamal sat in the sterile hospital room, his heart heavy with unspoken emotions. The rhythmic beeping of the cardiac monitor was the only sound filling the silence. His mother, Kim, lay in the hospital bed, her frail form barely a shadow of the strong woman he had always known. Yet, even in her weakened state, her presence remained a source of warmth and reassurance. She gazed at him with gentle eyes, her lips curving into a faint but comforting smile. Despite her evident exhaustion, she still sought to soothe him, to ease his pain, just as she always had. After issuing a few more instructions, the doctor finally left them alone. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as neither of them spoke. Jamal simply looked at her, engraving every detail of her face into his memory, the way her eyes held the depth of a lifetime, the familiar tenderness in her expression. Breaking the silence, Kim spoke softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "You have to take care of yourself, Jamal. I don't want you to fall apart because of me." Jamal shook his head, letting out a weak laugh that quickly turned into a choked gasp. "How can I not, Mom? You are my everything." Kim's focus softened, and with great effort, she raised a trembling hand to cup his face. Her touch was light, yet it carried the weight of infinite love. "Baby," she murmured, "I'm not going anywhere right now. But I need a promise from you." Tears welled up in Jamal's eyes as he nodded, his throat tightening. "Anything." Kim exhaled a slow breath. "Promise me you'll look after yourself. You are a part of me, son. You matter just as much." Fresh tears spilled down Jamal's cheeks, his vision blurring as he whispered, "I promise." A sense of peace settled over Kim at his words. Content, she allowed her eyes to close, exhaustion pulling her into much-needed rest. Jamal held onto her hand for as long as he could, unwilling to let go. "Not now. Not ever." The steady, rhythmic beeping of the monitor echoed through the room, a quiet reminder that, for now, she was still here. And that was all that mattered.